Greetings of the day. I think good morning for a lot of us and good afternoon for the rest of us. It is wonderful having all of you in this panel. We started this journey yesterday where this Afro Asian Summit. We started with kind of two panels yesterday, which went wonderfully. The first one was on menstruation and the silent problem. And we realized, irrespective of the country where one is present, be it India, Pakistan, Nepal, or parts of Africa, the problems are the same. I mean, they can actually have a common thread between them. And the biggest problem that came about is that people do not want to talk about it. It's a taboo to talk about it. So, which is how our campaign got the name of Joining the Conversation. Following that, we also realized that lifestyles and periods are very important depending on whether you are underserved or overprivileged or wherever you are in the middle. You must take care of the needs of the hour basis, your situation in life. It could be that you are in a menarchical situation or a menopause situation or anywhere in between. You will still need to take care of your situation. So one cannot escape that, and there is no shortcut to it. It's a whole regime which one has to follow to remain healthy in life. And after our experiences of pandemic across the world in last 2 years, we have realized health is the biggest wealth. So these were the two panels. We were very happy with the kind of responses we received, and which brings us to our panel today: inclusivity and sports in menstrual hygiene management. Over to you now to take on to the panel. Niyamat, would James be able to take it on from here, or would you like to do an introduction for that?
I'll just be sharing the video of Toto Africa.
Sure, surely. Oh, that's a lovely video. Let's all enjoy it. Tina, kudos to you for making that video.
Thank you, Ruby.
Shall we?
Hello, everyone. This is Akelo Tieno, founding director of Toto Africa. At Toto Africa, we develop an African child, the youth, and young women holistically. As the name says, Toto Africa, this is a Swahili word that means an African child. We believe that yes, we can. And we also believe that whatever life throws at us, we can always handle it and make better out of every situation. The people and the children that we deal with are from very humble background. Most of them, they cannot afford the 3 basic meals a day. And our 4 thematic areas are health awareness, education, that is both formal and informal. Our 4th thematic areas is sport, and we have zeroed in on rugby. Every child in Toto Africa plays rugby. At the moment, our youngest is 6 years and our oldest is 20 years. At Toto Africa, we have different groups that we deal with. At the moment, we have 90 children. That is our main beneficiaries. We have around 50 young mothers, and we have a special group that we call it kittens. Our target beneficiaries, we have 5 categories of target beneficiaries. We have the adolescents and young mothers. That is starting from the age of 16 years to 25 years of young mothers, whereby we teach them scaling. At the moment, we have around 50 young mothers. And then we also have community men and women, that is parents and youth. We have the elder care, that is the one that I initially say that leaving a legacy. These are groups that start from 50 years and above. We also have boys to men. At Toto Africa, we do not neglect boy child. We also have the primary beneficiaries, that is from 6 years to 20 years. Our special projects, we have Wonder Girl. We're not forgetting the community. We work hand in hand with the community. We work hand in hand with the county government. We work with the chiefs, we work with administration, government administrators. Toto Africa cannot exist without the community as the main stakeholder. Toto Africa is here today to help tackle the issue of menstrual health management. This is something that adult men, even women, older women, are still struggling with. Either it is during their menopause or when they are preteens and they're just starting their menses. It is something that also affects them mentally. It is something that also custom and culture expect them to hide it from the community, and they're not supposed to talk about it. And Toto Africa is here to help shout it that it is a normal thing and it is supposed to be embraced.
That was amazing. Over to you, James, to start the panel, please.
James, you are mute.
James, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry for that. I was saying thank you guys so much for coming and for joining us today. And thank you, Rudy, for that wonderful introduction, and Tina for the beautiful video that you just watched, and very informative of what Toto Africa is doing. Thank you so much, guys. This is the second day for the summit, and we welcome you all for today's summit. Just by a show of hand, I just want to see your hands if you guys are ready for this today. Wow, thank you so much. So I will start by introducing my panelists, so that at least you know their background. The one I will introduce first is Mr. Pratik Dubey. Mr. Pratik Dubey, he's a co-founder of UVAS organization, and Pratik is a development sector. Is a professional boxer. Being a national level player in boxing, he has been in the sports sector for the last 10 good years. He has expertise in gender sensitization and women empowerment through sports. He's been part of research teams where he co-authored curriculum for adolescent boys regarding gender equality. While working with youth in Delhi's underprivileged communities, he wanted to create a structure where girls coming from marginalized communities can create their careers through sports. Thank you so much, Mr. Pratik, and we are here and we know that we're going to gain and learn a lot from you. You're welcome.
Thank you, James. Thanks for the kind introduction. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The next panelist that I have with me is Esther Mbugwa Kimemia. Esther is a consultant. Esther is a trainer, is an author, and is an advocate on women's health and endometriosis, and is also a founder and a CEO for Yellow Endo Flower, Menopause Talks Kenya, Yellow Flower Initiative, and the Furaha program. He loves educate, empower, and equip girls and women with the right tools to understand their bodies and to navigate their menstrual health journeys from menarche to menopause. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My next panelist is Miss Anuhia Kurapati. Hope I've pronounced this very well. Anuhia Kurapati. Anuhia is a doctoral fellow at Christian University, and is also a founder of Beyond Blood, and is a doctoral fellow at Christ University, Bengaluru, who received her MSc in Health Economics from University of York, and a recipient of the Postgraduate York Gold Award 2019. She had a brief stint at the Center of Health Economics, York, before moving back to India. She is a founder of Beyond Blood, an organization that initiated an inclusive menstrual mental health movement to spotlight PMDD and PNE. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Anuhia Korapati.
Thank you for having me.
And the next panel that we have with us is Madam Irene Kigathi. Irene Kigathi is a founder for Tuleane Africa Initiative. And Irene is a mother to an autistic child, And most of the time, her heart is normally broken when he see how little effort is put to train girls on matters, on menstruation health matters together with the well-being of the sexual reproductive health. Good morning, Irene, and welcome for this forum.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. So I would like to start with you, Irene.
Yes.
This is very good because at least you have a child that at least you can share with us the experiences maybe that you are facing, especially with a girl child that you are raising, a child who is autistic. Can you share with us maybe some few challenges, the good part of it, and also the challenges part of it, kindly?
Thank you, Jimmy. I am glad to be here this morning. As you have heard, my name is Irene Kigathi. I am a mother of two children. One is autistic, and she's the elder child. She's now 26, and my son is 18 years of age. It has been a journey of menstruation challenges, as you have heard. Training a child with cognitive or intellectual disabilities on how to handle their menses is a complete different ballgame. You start at an early age because the development system of the child or the development part of the brain is much slower, and the child has a low IQ, so they do not understand what it means.
Sorry,
Yes?
Irene, can I cut you for a little bit?
Yes,
sorry,
please.
just where you are, just put a comma where you are. Sorry, I did not, I forgot to introduce another panelist that we have.
Oh,
Sorry for that. So the other panelist we have is Leonida Ayuma. Leonida is a founder and at the NGO Youth Advisory Champion for Health. Is a Youth Advisory Champion for Health, Mombasa, Kenya. And she is a sexual reproductive health youth advocate from Kenya. Good morning, Irene. And if we can see your face, the better. And so that at least you wait for us wherever you are. If you can turn on your video, Irene.
Irene, how are you?
I mean, Leonida. Or if you are joining us on phone, you can. We wanted to hear your voice, please, Leonida. Okay, I think she will join. She will join us later on. So you can proceed, Irene. Sorry for that.
No, it's all right. It's understandable. So as I was sharing, we started early with my daughter from as early as 8 years old. She was sexually molested. So that is when I decided I need to take up training her on sexual reproduction health and also matters of menstruation so that it doesn't come to her as a surprise. The use of pads, the use of napkins is how I started training her on the different kinds of napkins and what they are used for, what menstruation is all about, that it is a bleeding that takes place in a girl's life, and it happens in your mother's life as well, in grandmother's life as well, breaking it down to the simplest way that the mind could understand. And as we walked the journey, by the time the menses occurred for the first time, of course, she thought that she's unwell, that she's bleeding. We need to go and visit a doctor because she's not feeling well. And at the end, at the beginning, it was such a challenge because every month I would have to give her some medication for her to understand. She thought that she's actually unwell. But by the time she got to the age of 15, the messes had stopped. She may not understand even today what it really means to have menses. She has a timer, she has a way that she monitors how she's going to change her pad system, how she does timing for 4 hours. She has a clock, she has a calendar that she marks when she feels like when the periods occur and when they end. Sometimes not so good, sometimes it is good. But when you're talking of a cognitive mind, a challenged person, you're talking of somebody who cannot reason, who cannot problem solve, who is not socially acceptable. So the challenges, even as we go somewhere to visit with her when she has her menses, she will end up messing because she's anxious. She may not find the loo in time, the toilet in time. The challenges actually for children and for persons with intellectual disability and autism. We really need to step up our game on how we train them. The first time I went, let me share this, Jimmy. The first time I taught menstruation health matters in a special school that has girls alone. It was during a parents' day that they were closing school and going home with the girls. When I told them about menstruation, most of the mothers thought that I had spoken out of context. This is a home that we have girls who are 12 years up to 35 years. And most of them, their brain growth is still maybe at the age of 8 to the age of 10. So I was trying to train the mothers how to actually involve their daughters in matters relating to menstruation and how to train them so that the school does not keep retraining and retraining again. When it happens at home, it resonates better with the mind because I will understand that my daughter understands that I go through the same cycle every month. And I have my own calendar, I have my own timer. You just have to do things different in the disability world. So I have a timer, she has her own timer. I have my own small calendar, she has her own small calendar. We pack our menses, our pads in a different place. Each has their own way of doing it, but she knows that when the stock is actually almost over, it's time to go back to restock in the supermarket. So I tried to train the mothers, but they didn't feel like sexual health and the menstruation health and hygiene matters actually are a part of their daughters' lives because most of the times they take care of it for them. And that is where we get the challenge because at the end of the day, you see that if I pass on, my daughter cannot be able to handle these things on her own. And it is yet a cycle that she should not be embarrassed about. It is something that is happening to every woman across the world. And we are all unique and all simple. You can do it 3 days, some are going 7 days, as long as they understand that this is what happens to every woman. And my mother and my grandmother, my sisters are going through the same thing. It's not something that I should be ashamed about just because I have a disability. So yes, that is what Learn Africa does as an organization. It is part of our training of functional skills that we train the girls, and also how the boys should understand what the cycle means is, despite the challenges of intellectual disability, to understand that as much as we are talking about this to the girls, this also happens. The body changes and the voice change and all this. It's part of the puberty period of the teenagehood when you're growing up and maturing to be something like an adult. So you are in between the two phases and you're coming to terms to how will you handle your sexuality when you are as a young adult and as you're growing forward. Thanks, Jimmy. You're mute.
That was very, very elaborative, and thank you for that. I'm learning so much from you, Irene. I'm learning so much from you, and I believe all the panelists we are learning so much from Irene, because to her it is practical. She's actually doing it practically. So I would like to come back to Pratik today. So Pratik, you as a sportsman, uh, in uh, in your country, I don't know if you're coming from India, of course.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes, there is this lady called Deepa Malik. Deepa Malik. Uh, I don't know. I know you have the history of her.
Sorry. I'm unable to get you. What are you looking for? Sorry.
I'm asking you if now that you are a sports person and you are a gender sensitive guy, you're a feminist and you help women, especially those who are in sports and all that. There is this one woman, one lady from India. Her name is Deepa Malik,
Yes.
and she's an athlete.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Deepa Malik. She started her career at the age of 30. She is one of those women. Yeah.
yes, so my question to you is: what are the problems sports women face during menstruation?
Okay, so the thing is, I've mostly been around young athletes. So my engagement with the athletes till now has been with the girls, those who belongs to heart 24 years of age. So they are almost young girls and athletes. And my views over this particular issue is completely based on the situation faced by this age group, or what I have seen around them, what they are facing. Like every other woman, a female athlete has to go through the same problem that each and every woman goes through that particular menstruational cycle. Just like abdominal pain, back pain, irritability, if I'll say loss of appetite, mood swings, and it just surpluses when the sports got added into it. So when a girl who's practicing something, who's playing something, then there is so much of physical activity going here and there. So she's also afraid of getting stains on her clothes. Apart from it, all these pain and mood swing is making so hard to train at that particular time period when the girl is in her training. The most difficult thing which they faces is comes when the society, and within that particular society, the other women around them, their mother, their sister, and all other women they faces, they look at these things with a really contemptuously. They also are the one who makes them feel that if during menstruation you are going out and playing, then it's not good. You are just weak. You are so weak that you can't do all these kind of things. And because of all these things, a girl, a player, a female player has to fight a lot within inside their mind, apart from fighting with all these physical issues. So she has to fight within the society and constantly has to keep convincing herself that she's not weak. And just like it's a complete different battle, like she's trying to attain something on ground, and even all these kind of things which added up and creates a different uh, there's a different scenario which they have to overcome. And it is the part of all how mensuration adds up and become more troublesome when it comes to sports.
Wow, thank you so much. That was very nice. I'm imagining you are in the middle of training. You're training a girl or a woman on in sports, and you're almost facing the opponent, and
Yes.
pop, and pop, this thing comes in. I can imagine the situation. So, Anu here, what would be your take on that? Maybe if you have a friend or you've been in such kind of a situation, what would be your take on this?
I think that a lot of athletes are pretty familiar with their cycles, and they also are familiar with what helps them. Like I myself, I played national level basketball, and I was a swimmer in school. And when we we're being trained, it didn't matter on the day of, the main match whether you got your periods or not. It really didn't matter. But what mattered was that whether the position you're playing changed. Sometimes a position where you're not really running a lot, especially in basketball, that would like really make a difference. So there's a lot of understanding between teams. There's a lot of change in strategies depending upon somebody's skill and also like how they're feeling on that day, right? Like you can't pull someone down because they're experiencing a painful period. So there's some adjustment that are made, especially in team sports among team members, because we're all experiencing menstruation at one point or the other. And I also had very, I would say, empathetic coaches who would always give me a rest day on the day that I was menstruating. It didn't really matter that, I have to train on that day or I'll be a big loser. That wasn't how we approached it. We, rest days and recovery days as important as the days when you're training as well, right? Without rest and recovery, you can't really be on your full strength. So this is exactly where we need more research as well. Like I was saying, sports research, it's always been done on men. We have very, very few sports research that happens on women. Right now, it is increasing, and we have much more understanding of how hormones play an important role in rest, recovery, and even strengthening for that matter. With this, improvement of how women are being included in sports research, I see how training will be, in future, how training menstruators will definitely change. We already know that the winning US soccer team trained based on their menstrual cycle. We also have this new app which is called as Fitter Women, which would sync with your cycles and tell you what sort of exercises would, be perfect for you at the time of the day. Time of the cycle. Well, let's talk about follicular phase, which is immediately after somebody finishes their bleeding days. So in follicular phase, it's more advisable to do strengthening or learning new skill, because studies have shown that it has higher efficiency to do that. At a similar stage, during a luteal phase or late luteal phase, it's advised to do stretches, yoga, something to, get yourself into rest and recovery, because injuries are most likely to take place in luteal phase. And why that happens is because men and women, we have different biomechanics in terms of angles of our hands as well angles of our hips, because of which the landing when someone jumps or anything is completely different between men and women in terms of biomechanics. So and if these injuries are more likely to happen in luteal phase, which is why it's always advised to spend more time in terms of warming up, in terms of stretching before you just jump into an activity. So now these things have come out recently, and they've come out because we've spent a lot of time in adding the variable of menstrual cycle, adding the variable of change in level of progesterone and estrogen throughout the menstrual cycle, learning to actually use the cycle for you instead of the cycle being against you. So it's important that when we talk about menstruation in sports, we just don't talk about the days that a person is experiencing bleeding, but rather talk about it as a cycle, right? From follicular phase to ovulation to luteal and late luteal and menstruation. So we need to acknowledge that the menstrual cycle as a whole is important in sports or in general in life as well.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Anuhia. I will still come back to you now that you're a sports person and you're here. We know we are going to learn more from you. And at this point, I would like to thank those who are joining us. And I can see people like Chipo are joining us. Agarwal is here with us. Shishti. Thank you guys for being around. And we are happy that you are with us in this. I'm coming to you, Esther. Esther, you have had what Anuhia has come up with. So I don't know if there is a similarity today in your country where you are, and of course in your day-to-day engagements with women. Is there anything different that she has shared? She has shared that you might want maybe to bring up, or what do you
Okay.
think?
Thank you. I completely agree with what she said, especially from the theory perspective. I think in Kenya we have various cycles. I'll start with period poverty, because I've met girls who are not able to show up because they're on their bleed, and there are different cultures also that speak into sports. So you have a girl who is very active, but when she gets her first period, she's told, those things and those games are reserved for boys or for men. So it's also restrictive from the time you become a young woman that you're not allowed to play per se. And then another thing I'd say is access to information, especially where period tracking is involved. I am a key believer in the menstrual cycle, being able to understand, help your body work for you and not the other way around, because many times as women, we are playing catch up, not even in sports, but even in our day-to-day lives. We're not really harnessing the power that we have in the different parts of our cycles. So there's a limited access to information that I feel like if we give the women and the girls as much information that was going alongside even the training, that they would even be better athletes, because they're informed and they are now able to take responsibility for their bodies, also able to draw lines and parallels between how they're feeling, their energy levels as well, their emotional space, even their mental health space, because sometimes it's not about my body, just my body, because I can't say that a period happens in a whole, like I am connected from head to toe. So being able to get the girls and women to understand where they are as a whole human being. And then another thing that I've seen is when a girl just starts working out, sometimes because she's lost a lot of weight, what we see is a period missing, periods are disappearing. And here it's a thing that we celebrate, because we don't really have a positive outlook to periods. So just like, yes, there are no more periods, but it should be worrying, because the question would be, where has this period gone? What's happening with your hormones? So there's not enough medical support. There needs to be a lot more gynecological support for these women, so that we know, do we need to keep within the safe amount of weight. You know, BMI, some people say it's not an African thing. When we come here, we are heavy boned or we look a different way, but we still need to have some parameters that we're working within. And then another thing is diet. We really don't have a special diet because Esther, who doesn't live a very active lifestyle, and an athlete shouldn't be eating the same thing. We should have a diet that meets the needs of these women and is also replenishing calories lost and also other micronutrients that they could be missing out on during this whole training time. But you know, we are very performance based and we just think about the medal. We're here for the medal. But how are we ensuring that even though this woman has run a marathon, that we are replenishing what she has lost along the way? How are we ensuring that even when it comes to period poverty, that we're giving them the right products for what they're doing? Because you know, many times we give girls pads, but what if a pad isn't working for her? Or what if a pad is actually coming in between her confidence and her actually being able to be a very confident sports person? So basically going down to the girl and actually asking her, is this working for you? If I gave you a period pants, would that work better for you? Of course, also just making sure that we allow them to make decisions for themselves. And then the last thing that I would mention is I have seen some parents who go over and above and take away their daughter's rights to menstruate because menstruation seems to come in between them and the sport and them and what they're doing. So I feel like it really is a disservice to the girl because if we helped her understand her body and her cycle, I think that would definitely be more empowering than taking away the cycle as a whole, or rather the flow as a whole. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Esther. That was good. And I will come back to you because I have some few questions for you. So I'm told Leonida is on phone. So Leonida, are you with us?
Hi, Lonida's facing little technical issue. She's just joining in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, let me come back to you, Irene. Irene, what Esther was talking about is about there is something there I've gotten from her, and that is about the cycle changing when they are having when they start now doing the exercise and their body start changing and all that. So, how does it happen? Did you ever experience such kind of a thing with your girl or with the children you have with? Your mic is on. Your mic is off. Irene, you are.
Okay, there. With the girls that I work with, just apart from my daughter only, because I work with different girls,
Yeah.
I find that during the sports days, they don't want to participate at all. Remember, it's still a taboo to them. It's still a difficult phase in their life that they don't know how to cope, how to include, whether to go away with it or what do I do about it. So for them, when it comes to sports and exercising, we usually force them every morning to take a jog just before they take a shower, and actually just to make them a bit more active, because children with disabilities like to sit down most of the time. So it's actually, you have to push them out to do something and make them live it. They love volleyball. They love games that actually make them stretch and things that, I think the more active the body is, the less that the pain and the way you can handle everything in life. It gives you the way to manage stress. Sports actually is really an inclusive thing when it comes to even menstruation and everything. So the girls usually will refuse categorically to do any sport whatsoever. And as Esther, you are saying, I agree with you. Most of the parents actually don't want the menstrual flow to continue. They would prefer to give it medication or something to take away that right, so that they don't have to suffer the embarrassments and the things that come up with, the challenges that come up with menstruation. I feel like Esther, and I agree with her, that menstruation is a right, actually, and there is no need of denying a woman of going through her cycle. Working with the person and helping them understand what it is all about and why they are going through it. In the long run, it brings better
Oh.
against giving the girl the right, denying the girl the right for the menstruation. Most of them in this unit were in the centers where I work with. You find that most fathers would prefer to take the girls either for these injections, for family planning. They deny the child also the right to, even if she's pregnant, to go full term with the pregnancy. They abort. They feel like it's more of a burden than, embracing the walk and walking the journey with a girl.
Okay, that's a very very good insight. And I don't know if now we can connect to Leonida. Leonida, I think she's still having.
Sorry, she's having some technical issues. She's just messaged me. I'll let you know as soon as she joins. Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. So Pratik Dubey,
Yes.
uh, I would like to ask you this question. In India, I know Irene and Esther, they will speak about Kenya. In India, do you have the facilities that are arranged to make situation better, especially for the girls who are in terms of menstruation?
Okay, so yeah, just okay, yeah. So when we are talking about situation of menstruation and athletes within India, so how does it goes? It we can easily segregate into two different parts. One is the rural India and the other one is the urban India. And how it comes and how it plays a role that the urban India, which has a slightly, they are a slightly bit privileged, they have bit resources. In when we are talking about urban India, it has a number of female athletes and female coaches also. So there is a bit more. I'll not say a huge, but a bit more inclusivity, gender inclusivity within sports in comparison to rural India. When we are coming down to rural India, there is the problem which we seriously need to monitor because being such a huge population, we when we are looking at a larger canvas, so a lot and lot of our athletes are coming from that particular background. Also, they have somehow started at some community park or somewhere down there in their area or in their village. So a lot of our athletes are coming from there only. And when we are talking about those spaces, then the girls over there, there is rarely we'll find a female coach over there. Rarely we'll find a female trainer. And having a good diet, even if we'll say having an adequate diet in those places is such a privilege. Like if we'll say ki, you have to take such a diet to make yourself your menstruation cycle better, and to get that particular diet is such a privilege at that particular spaces. So the problem is itself very clumsy within. But what can be done as far as I can see is running the awareness sessions, making things accessible to all by doing different sessions, awareness sessions and campaigns. We can normalize. We can just remove the taboo of periods or menstruation within the mind of the people. And we can also look at the lack of facilities when we are looking at sports institutions, when we are looking at places, when even when we are looking at our schools, there is lack of facilities for girls over there. They don't have a proper uh, sanitation facility. They don't have proper facility where they can dispose sanitary napkins, where they can get sanitary napkins, and even they are not aware of the girls, those who are coming from rural areas, they are not even aware of sanitary napkins, how to use them. There are too many different things these days, as we can say, we can name of them. Like there is tampon, there is menstruational cup, and no girl. It's hardly to for them to know about all these things. So creating awareness is the major thing what we can do. Then it comes to the part where we need to make things accessible to them. Government need to create some policies, and we also on our hand need to make things accessible and let them know what basically can be done with those limited kind of resources, and what should be like what the preventive measures can be taken or not. So that's how I'm looking at all this particular. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pratik. I know this is so much. We are getting somewhere, and it's becoming deeper and deeper and deeper. And Anu here for a party now. Being a sports woman, as you are,
Mhm.
I know maybe who is your favorite sports person, a woman
I
of
would
you who has actually inspired you, and when you grow up, you want to be like her.
I think it would be Simon Biles for me because, her recent stance on how it was very important. Like, she did not participate because she wanted to focus on her mental health. It's something, more often forgotten about sports people because sports people or sports persons are always expected to demonstrate another level of resilience that is supposed to be of some superhuman strength, or I don't know what it is. They're expected to always demonstrate resilience, which is like, sometimes maybe the greatest thing to do is to take rest and not show resilience. And I think that way she inspires me in many ways because obviously she stood up for herself in many ways. And I love a lot of things about her, both as a sports person and as a person in general as well. So I would say she would be my biggest inspiration.
Oh, nice. Thank you for that. I don't know if we can now hear Leonida. Hi,
Yeah,
Leonida.
no, she's having a major technical issue. She's in where she is in Kenya. I think there's a little bit of problem in her home with tech. So I think we can continue. I'll let you know when she joins.
Okay. That's better. So, Esther, let me come back to you. Mm. So, Esther, when it comes to women and girls who are especially able, I would like you to, what are the main concern during their menstruation? The main concern.
Okay. The concerns are many. First, it depends on what we're dealing with because not all children and women are the same. So there's no blanket that we can say this is the way we are going to deal with all cases. So that's a first concern, that we don't have a framework that covers everyone. We don't have a framework that is inclusive for every girl and woman who is specially able. But then the second thing would be access to information, and access to information is two-pronged. So we have access to information to the girl herself, what she can understand in words and a way that's communicated to her in a way that she can understand. And then the second one is to her caregiver and caregivers as well. Because sometimes we have the mom, like Irene, who is the caregiver, and in some cases we have someone else who is also the caregiver. And when we're dealing with caregivers, we're usually now dealing with what their own journey has been, because sometimes we pass on bias by what we say and what we don't say as well. So sometimes it's not always coming on as neutral. If I had a bad menstrual journey, and then sometimes it's easy for me to pass that on and it to seem as a very negative thing because the child or the girl doesn't know anything. They don't know anything before we speak to them. So that's definitely a key thing. Now, for the caregiver, it's knowing that yes, I have my own period as a woman, but now I am dealing with another girl whose cycle is absolutely different from mine. So I have to understand mine, but I also need to empower her to be able to understand hers and help her to understand hers without comparing it too much with mine, like giving her an individual experience as well. The second thing is access to specialized products. Sometimes the pad is very messy. Like I put on, sometimes she's not able to change herself. Sometimes maybe she has to use a diaper, or sometimes there's no access to these diapers. So period poverty takes on a different stance in this case because it's not just about having access to pads, but it's also just being able to give her access to hygiene and remain with her dignity, because dignity also is a big thing, because now we're not dealing with a child who we're changing their diaper, but we're dealing with a girl who might feel bad because of how I am doing things. To actually have a period pantry here with me, because I think this is a wonderful let me just hold it up. I think it's a wonderful solution because you just change it once. It comes and it already absorbs everything, and it does give dignity because either every day she wears knickers. So this is just a different knicker that she's going to wear without her feeling a bit weird or attaching any other notion to it. And then sometimes medical decisions are made for her. And this is usually two things because sometimes periods also come with an extra vulnerability, meaning that if someone defiles her, then now we can get pregnant, or now something else can happen. So it does come with vulnerability, and the vulnerability is also it's heavy because the child might not understand or the girl might not understand, but also now just getting the village that is raising this girl also to understand that she might not be able to protect herself, so we have to protect her. So that is also very heavy, and it's not a one person thing. It's Esther coming together with my relatives or whoever else is living with me to say that we need to sit together and protect this child. And then now the medical decisions, because sometimes we want to really avoid this period because it's inconvenient, we don't want to deal with the mess, for various reasons. But I really do think that every girl has a right to menstruate, a right to experience her body working the way God designed for it to work. And I think that a lot of times, especially when we don't give proper counseling, like say, yes, I'm taking you to the doctor and this is what the doctor is going to do because they can't ask. So sometimes we give consent to things that then they suffer with down the line. Those are the
Oh,
ones I'd say are the key things.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Esther. Before I come back to you, we're having a little time now left. We are left with like 12 minutes to complete this panel. But before I complete the panel, we complete this, we go around to each other. We have audience. We have people who have joined us and we are together in this. Do we have anybody who is joining us and would want to direct a question to either of the panelists, our audience? Our audience, you can just unmute your mic and then you ask a question. You can direct a question from any of the panelists. And if there is none, I would like to come back to you, Irene. Your last word. Your last word. And of course, I know you so much. It's only that we don't have enough time. But if at all we would have enough time, then I know this thing will have exploded. So please kindly.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Jimmy,
And
I have already put some questions in the chat box. If you can take that, please.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nihalsha. So Nihalsha is asking, uh, so should I direct this to Pratik?
Yeah, sure. I would love to take that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
so these are the
Please.
questions. A sports person forced to take medicines to stop or delay periods just because she has to participate in some games.
Well, thanks a lot, Neilcha. Well, I've seen there are two or three questions that you have asked, and those really contain some kind of depth into them. Uh, do athlete or a coach or a trainer gives her athletes some kind of medication so that she has to participate in some important game? Well, I don't think it is a usual practice that one performs, and I'm like talking about India. I'm not sure like what's happening outside and the engagement I do have. It is not a very common practice that we can easily be seen. If it is might be happening somewhere, so I don't have much information or knowledge about it, so I'll not speak about it whether it is going somewhere or not. Well, in usually if I'll talk like up to the nationals level and the within India engagement wherever it is going, so I don't see it is happening that much easily. Whether we train sports person about menstruational cycles, so now comes again, here comes the part like first of all there is so much of gender disparity when it comes to sports. Whenever if I'll just come and ask you how a sports coach looks like, then 70% of us will picture a male image over there. That a sports coach will be a male figure. And when we are talking like this, then it's really hard to discuss these kind of thing. And all these men, those who are in sports or on these practices, it's not a common thing when like talking about menstruation is such a taboo for them when we are engaging with the men. So it is not usually been done. Even it's like we are talking about sports. If we'll normally talk about our schools, it is not being taught over there also that what is basically menstruation and what menstruation cycle is. It might like only I'll say 25 or 20% schools might be teaching their students, their girls, what actually menstruation is and how you have to deal with them or what will happen during it. But 80% of the population are still vulnerable to the information regarding this. And when it comes to sports, the all the things it goes just surpluses. So that's how the scenario is. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pratik. I
If
think
I
we have
may
started.
add,
Okay. Okay.
there's actually, for a very long time, birth control pills were prescribed for athletes so that their cycles can cease to exist. Like Esther and Irene were saying, like we have the right to menstruation, right? So birth control pills were a standard practice among athletes so that they never experience any cycles during their training period or for competition. And usually post competition, also if they're again back to training, again they're in 21 days of birth control pills, which would not let them menstruate at all. And for a very long time, this was a very much standard practice in sports. And it is still, even today, it is relevant, right? In India, it is based on my experience and based on, at least in South India, I'm very familiar with it because we are doing some research there. So I know that it is a standard practice. But research has shown that ovulation and menstruation are referred to as the sixth vital sign of life. So now, being a fifth vital sign of life and understanding that ovulation is important for menstruators, now we understand that it's really important for athletes to have a menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
Speaking scientifically, and ovulation is how a lot of women make hormones in terms of, whether it is cortisol, which is stress hormone, whether it is estrogen and progesterone, how we metabolize these hormones, all of this, right? Ovulation is really, really important. And which is why these days it is not really no longer a standard practice for people to prescribe birth control pills or stop menstrual cycle for athletes. Despite this, it still happens because there is so much stigma and there is so much knowledge gap between the coaches and the athletes themselves. Because of this knowledge gap, we see that there's no.
Oh, I know here. I know here. You.
Anuya, you have mute yourself. Please unmute.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So essentially what I'm saying is that we hope that the knowledge gap is bridged between the coaches and the athletes or among coaches as well, because, now that we have more research and more information, things like this change, including now that one of the other important aspect is bra signs, right? Not 85% of women don't wear right bras. Now, when we talk about sports women, it's even worse because the sample size is smaller, and sports bras, whether it's encapsulation or compression sports bras, depending upon the cup size and all of this, it's really, really relevant information. Because for a very, very long time, women and men were treated as same in sports. It's time to acknowledge that biologically speaking, we are not same, and we have different needs, different training needs, different clothing needs, and probably even different exercises, right? And for this reason, it's really important for us to acknowledge the differences and bring and what I would call as equity and diplomacy in sports relating to gender. And that's why it's important that we keep having conversations like this. Thank you.
That was so very useful. To this, I would like to put one more question, because I come from the background of premenstrual syndrome, and I really doubt whether that has ever been talked to the sports person, because there are a lot of psychological effects that they
Mm-hmm.
feel if they are actually suffering from PMS,
Mm-hmm.
and that can really interfere their sports. But are they ever been told how to handle the mood swings or the irritation or the violent episodes that they might be coming through during that particular phase? Is
Mm-hmm.
it so?
So there, ideally, there is research to support that there are certain supplementations like B12, which can be given to people in sports or generally people who experience PMS in order to sort of help with their symptoms, right? PMS symptoms. Now we have PMS and we have PMDD as well, premenstrual dysphoric
Three
disorder, right?
seconds, Anu here.
Yeah, great.
Three
So now
seconds.
we
Sorry,
need,
sorry.
yeah, so now we need to
Sorry.
know that
Okay,
should
okay,
I finish
continue.
it? Okay,
Yes,
let's
yes,
finish
finish.
it. Yeah. So we just need to understand that while there is a lot of information out there, again, there's a lot of knowledge gap between what coaches know, what the athletes know. And the only way to bridge the gap is to bring that knowledge to the people in sports. And that's the only way to do it. But there is research and there's
Okay,
evidence and there are best practices to show how they can deal with it.
nice. Thank you so much.
I
Thank you so
just
much,
wanted to
Anu
close
here.
it with a single statement. Actually, there is a lot of knowledge, there
Oh,
is a lot of research, and there is a
okay,
lot of
okay.
things which is
Okay,
just a
Prateek, one
statement.
second.
But
1 second.
the situation of the awareness. So it's again the rural and privileges. So there is only 10% of the population those know a lot, and 90% are still abundant to that. So that's
Oh,
it.
thank you so much. One word, Irene. Your mic is off. Just one word. Your mic is still off, Irene.
Okay, sorry, Jimmy. All I would say is create awareness, and when you find a girl with challenges that are intellectual, walk the journey with them.
Thank you so much. Esther?
I'd say invest in the girl child, invest in the framework and the support system that is supporting her, information, products, and diet as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.